Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Moments with Me, the show where I talk about my personal experiences and my life stories. All right, everyone, welcome back for another great episode. And in today's episode, I kind of wanted to take a second to just talk about some of the progress that I'm making so far this year. Kind of my trials, my errors, my obstacles, all that fun stuff. So let's get straight into it. So, first things first, heading into the new year, I was like, I'm gonna try to make this year my year. I'm gonna try to get into new hobbies, habits, etc. And I think so far I'm doing it. I am trying to do these things. I will say I did kind of have a brief period where I was a little unsure. I was kind of feeling like I was failing the year already, and all these different thoughts that came up. I guess I don't want to say I gave up, but I feel like I mentally gave up. I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know how long I can keep this going on for. It was hard. And as I mentioned in my last episode, I had someone try to reconnect with me, and that was kind of a brief moment, but it was kind of a hard moment for me. It was kind of bringing up old feelings and stuff from the past. I go into it more in the last episode, so if you haven't gone and listened to that, make sure you go and listen to that. Just to sum it up here, I'll say that it was difficult. It was a difficult little obstacle. It was kind of the choice that I had to make, not really for that person, but more so myself. I kind of realized that because I was getting all these feelings of anxiety and all those different emotions that were bringing me down just from talking to that person, I kind of decided it'd be best if that person was out of my life. So, it was a hard decision to make, because I once really cared and I wanted an apology for so long from that person, but I just learned in that moment that it's not what I needed. I just needed to move on. And I feel like now I have that. And it's kind of a benefit to all that happening is I got to move on and now I can keep going. I feel stronger now, to be honest. I feel like I'm moved on and I can go and accomplish things. Speaking of which, I will say that I kind of had trial and error with that too. I've been trying to do different little habits to kind of get me going. Like, for example, I have been trying to pray every day. Now, I know that sounds a bit odd. I'm not super religious or anything. I like to pray almost as kind of like a spiritual way to ground myself, but also to kind of have like a out loud journal, kind of like stating how I feel, and like it kind of helps put me at ease sometimes, and it kind of helps me manifest the day that I'm going to have. I've been pretty good and consistent about that. Another thing that I've been kind of lacking on a little bit is I'm trying to journal every day, but it's been kind of hard to do that, especially because with work, a lot of times I end up having to go to work at like 3 in the morning or so. And when you wake up at 2:30 or so in the morning, it is really hard to just get up and write. It's really hard to do. Um, but I think going forward in the future, I can honestly I just bring that journal, and if anything, I could just journal on my break. I don't see why not. I also really have been needing to read. And I know I've been saying that in a couple episodes, but I've kind of really been hit or miss on reading, so I also need to try to get myself going on that. And I think another thing that I need to do is spend less time on social media because look, I love it. A lot of you guys love it. The doom scrolling, going through video after video, post after post, seeing a bunch of stuff. But I've also noticed that it's also brought me down as well. There's a lot of sad posts out there. There's also that kind of guilt that you give yourself because you're like, okay, I'll spend a few minutes on here, and then it goes from being like 1 hour or 2 hours of sitting on your phone. So I need to also cut that a little bit. I can't cut it out completely. I don't think that's like the healthiest thing to do. I think I just need to reduce the amount of screen time that I have. And that way, you can also make time for other hobbies as well. That's what I'm going to try to do. And I will say, as good as it is to have hobbies, it's also good to make sure that you give yourself that mental break. Because I think for a while, I just kind of had this mindset that I always had to be grinding, I always had to be doing stuff. And ultimately, it's led to me being burnt out and not wanting to do anything. And then it's the opposite effect. It's where I'm not doing much. So now I'm trying to do it to where I will, based on my work schedule and different things going on, I try to schedule a day where I don't do much at all. The reason being is because we all need a break. We all need a day that we can be lazy. It's good to have a day like that, to be honest. It's good to have a reset day, kind of reflect on where you're at and kind of what you want to do and keep going. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to incorporate those, you know, I guess I'll call them down days where you just don't do much. You just kind of sit with your thoughts a little bit. You kind of keep your tasks very minimal, nothing overwhelming, and that's the way to do it. So yeah, I'd say, like, for anybody out there listening, make sure you give yourself a day off. Make sure you give yourself a day off from work, school, hobbies, whatever it is, because the hobbies are not you. And that's also something that I've learned over time is I think with my hobbies, like, because with my theater degree that I was doing a while ago, I think it was kind of one, like, a moment of realization when I realized that my hobbies aren't who I am. I am much more than that. There's a lot more that I like. There's a lot more that I like to do. There's a lot more to me. And I shouldn't make my hobbies my life, I guess I should say. It's good to give yourself that break. It's good anybody, it's good to give yourself a break from that. Also, speaking of hobbies, I have actually started doing stuff again, which that's also something that I'm proud of myself for because I have now filmed a short film and I am getting ready to film a Super Bowl commercial. So I'm getting productive again. So I feel like I'm stepping in the right direction to where I want to go. So I'm very excited about that. But overall, to be honest, I think I like where I'm going. I like where I'm going. I have had my struggles. I've had my trials, my errors, and all that stuff. But that's okay because these are the building blocks. And the other reassurance that I'm giving myself that you can also give yourself if you're down on yourself about your New Year's resolutions or anything like that, tell yourself this: it's only January. I told myself that recently and I was like, wow. It's crazy that I'm already in the mindset that I have failed and that the year is done basically. And then I think about it and I'm like, no, there's literally 11 more months this year. There's so much time this year to get to where you want to be who you want to be, to do the things that you want to do. So go out there, have fun, make changes, and most importantly, be the best you this year. Also, speaking of hobbies, I have actually started doing stuff again, which that's also something that I'm proud of myself for because I have now filmed a short film and I am getting ready to film a Super Bowl commercial. So I'm getting productive again. So I feel like I'm stepping in the right direction to where I want to go. So I'm very excited about that. Well, everyone, with that being said, that's all the time that I have for this episode. So if you liked it, make sure you guys like and subscribe and go listen to my last episode if you haven't already. And also, in the comments, I am doing a Q&A for my birthday episode. So make sure you guys leave a question for me to answer for my birthday episode. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys next time.